middleweight champion Mark Kaylor takes on Buster Drayton from Brockton, Massachusetts. Then it's Sports World.
Los Angeles. So coming up today on NBC, track and field and boxing. I'll have the highlights for you throughout the day. Let's go to London now for ringside.
This is NBC Sports Ringside, and today it's brought to you by Michelob. One smooth and metal tape tells you that some things speak for themselves. By Armor All, it's science, but it works like magic. By Quaker State. Today you need an oil this good. You need Quaker State. And by Wagner, the right tool for painting. About 10 miles outside of Old London Town in Wembley, England, and it has been a beautiful springtime day here in London. Temperature in the 50s. A capacity crowd of 10,300 here at the Wembley Arena, and two of England's boxing hopes will be featured today as we get the day going with ringside. Hi everybody, I'm Marv Albert, and welcome to Wembley, England. Coming up later on NBC's Sports World, Britain's undefeated heavyweight hope, Frank Bruno, record of 20-0, all 20 by knockout, getting a first look by those of you in the United States as he goes up against James Bone Crusher Smith. Bone Crusher 13-1, 11 by KO, and these are massive heavyweights. Smith at 6'4", Bruno at 6'3". And about 7 minutes from now, here on ringside, it'll be British middleweight champion Mark Kaylor going up against Philadelphian Buster Drayton. Kaylor at 26-1, 22 by knockout. This is last fight back on March 13th, a win by decision over Randy Smith in London. Now Kaylor will be facing a veteran from the States in Drayton. He comes off a first-round KO of Jimmy Cable last month. But Drayton with that undistinguished record of 18-8-2, although he's pulled some surprises. For example, last May, a stunning second-round knockout over Clint Jackson. And as always, I'm joined here at ringside by the fabled fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, and we've heard so much about Mark Kaylor, and this is a kid who has come so far within the span of 1 year.
He has, but he faces a peculiar situation tonight. He's trained so hard for top 10 competition. He was ready for Animal Fletcher. Fletcher hurt his hand. They brought in Hard Rock Green. Green got his eye cut. They searched and they found Buster Drayton. Buster Drayton isn't top 10 competition, and he faces that dilemma that if he should win, he really didn't beat anything that much. If he should lose, it's back to the drawing boards because he's certainly not going anywhere in top 10 competition.
And Kaylor does not want to mess things up because he has a big test against Tony Simpson going for the European Middleweight Championship sometime before September. So today, a very important test for Mark Kaylor.
But for Buster Drayton, the opposite end, the cream of the crop, just what you want. A chance against a guy that's up and coming. He can shoot the moon in London because it doesn't make any difference if he loses. But if he wins, he is right up there.
So it'll be Mark Kaylor and Buster Drayton coming up on NBC Sports Ringside right after we pause for these messages.
Sports World makes big news. Britain's #1 heavyweight, undefeated Frank Bruno battles James Bone Crusher Smith. Is the Empire ready for the big man from Carolina? An American invasion that will make headlines. NBC Sports is big news in May.
Wembley Arena in Wembley, England, and we're getting set for the ring introductions. Let's go to Nat Basso.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, this is a 10 rounds international middleweight contest of 3 minutes each round at a match made at 11 stone 8 pounds between and introducing to you from South Philadelphia, United States of America, pounds. Your referee for this contest is Mike Jacobs and your timekeeper, Ray Russ.
And the referee here in England is the sole arbiter, scores the fight. There are no judges involved in scoring on the 10-point must system, but the winner of a round usually gets a half a point more than the loser of the round if it's close. A knockdown would usually make for a 1-point differential. Mark Kaylor, 23 years old, just turned 23 2 days ago, record of 20, and Drayton came out to try to put a quick ending to it. Buster Drayton, 30 years old, out of Philadelphia, now fighting out of Brockton, Massachusetts. That record, 18-8, 2 draws, 12 by knockout, and his last fight was a first-round knockout here in London of Jimmy Cable, while Kaylor, with 22 knockouts within the 26 victories, his last fight back in March, he won a 10-round decision over Randy Smith. Kaylor won the British middleweight title last September on a 5th-round knockout of Roy Gumps. Kaylor has 2 inches on Drayton, 6.5 pounds heavier, and 4 inches in reach on Buster Drayton.
And 10,000 people on his back because he's got every man in this place rooting for him. Drayton a little while in this first round trying to establish something, trying to put a little hurt on Mark Kaylor. So far, he's not been able to land anything good. They're arm punches, long arcing punches that sooner or later, Mark Kaylor will step inside of those brief and sharp punches that he's been using in the opening minute of this round.
Good right hand by Buster Drayton. Drayton has fought most of his career as a junior middleweight. And he has pulled a couple of surprises. Not an impressive record, but the major surprise was stopping Clint Jackson with a 1-punch second-round knockout last May. Jackson, the one-time Olympic champion, heavy favorite going in.
Mark Kaylor landed heavy punches to the body of Buster Drayton.
Under a minute left. First round was scheduled for 10.
Good, crisp body punching by Mark Kaylor. Mark of a good fighter. He's very patient. He's been measuring Buster Drayton. Drayton a little wild here, trying to force the action when there are no openings. Although he's gotten his shots in.
Coming at you, buddy. Coming at you,
Prior to the knockout victory over Clint Jackson, Drayton had boldly predicted a KO, a boast that was laughed at as usual pre-fight hype. He said no predictions for this one. And Drayton continues to go high and wide with the attempted hooks.
When you buy a new car, Michelob. Some things speak for themselves.
And this is round 2. Marv Albert with the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco from Wembley, England. Buster Drayton in the black, out of Philadelphia. And Mark Kaylor in the light blue, the British middleweight champion from London, England.
Drayton fighting like he has nothing to lose. He's sort of a bandit style. He's throwing anything he can from any angle, giving them all kind of, look at that wide punch. It won't be long before Mark Kaylor, who's fighting a very measured and sensible fight, will be stepping inside those arcing punches. He's already gotten to the body very well in the first round. I gave the first round to Mark Kaylor, but it was a close round.
Give the fraction of the point I mentioned earlier. The scoring here, a little odd.
I flunked fractions. I can't even help my daughter in the 3rd grade.
It's on the 10-point must system, but the winner of a round usually gets a half a point more than the loser. That's a normal round if it's close. And a knockdown round usually makes for a 1-point differential. That's the British system of scoring, which is also used for British title fights. However, European and world title fights here do use the conventional referee and 2 judges. Only the referee involved in the scoring in this bout.
That is exceptional and odd. Kaylor now coming on with some of that pinpoint punching he's known for.
Referee Mike Jacobs a moment ago requested that the punchers be raised, some low blows a moment ago.
He'll begin to remind Buster Drayton that he can't use his head in England. Buster comes in with his head low.
Under a minute left. This is round 2.
That looks good, but Kaylor's mostly hitting Buster Drayton's glove. Not that it doesn't build up points, but it doesn't put any hurt on you.
And again, the wild attempt by Drayton as Kaylor remains measured, very conservative. Crowd reacts to every move of Kaylor's, although that last barrage landed on gloves again.
Kaylor will soon realize he's got to go back to the body as he did so effectively in that first round.
And we're final seconds. Round 2. Good right hand by Drayton just before the bell.
To the millions who use paint remover. My daughter.
On to round 3 in Wimbledon, England, and the crowd urging Mark Kaylor on. Kaylor at 26-1, 22 by knockout. His only loss in a strange bout. Kaylor flattening the veteran Tony Serta. After the bell ended the 9th round, Serta unconscious on the canvas, could not continue, so Serta was awarded the decision. Kaylor suffered his only pro defeat via the disqualification route.
Must have felt strange. They raised his hand while he was laying on the canvas. Something must be wrong here. Shouldn't I be standing up when they raise my hand?
And that bout took place here in London, and it was Serta of the U.S. Getting the call on that one. The referee was Harry Gibbs, who will be handling the Frank Bruno, James Bone Crusher Smith bout that will be seen on Sports World a little bit later on today.
A little bit of a chess game just went on there. They tried to outguess each other for a full 15, 20 seconds.
Kaylor getting to the body now.
Has to get down to that body because Buster will keep his hands up there. He'll hit nothing but gloves. Kaylor fighting a measured fight, intelligent, not losing his head, not going crazy after him. If there's any craziness in the ring right now, it's a little bit of Buster Drayton who just doesn't care. He's letting it all out. Every once in a while, Drayton dangerous with that right hand.
And you get the idea that Kaylor beginning to solve Drayton with uppercuts and an effective left hand. Left hand by Drayton, followed by the roundhouse that did not connect. There's a right hand, so Buster Drayton hanging right in.
Kaylor letting his left do the talking for him. No question, his left hand has taken over this round. Buster's right in there, backing him up, trying to land that crazy right hand.
Coming at you, bud.
Buster getting too careless.
Buster Drayton continues to let it all out. And he did clip Kaylor. And he hurt Kaylor. He hurt him. And Kaylor put down. Final second goal.
Not a knockdown, not a knockdown.
Pulled a slip in the final seconds of the 3rd round. Buster Drayton throwing from all angles and throwing wide, able to connect on Mark Kaylor, and it is ruled a slip. We'll be back in just a moment.
Today's cars do.
The crowd here in Wembley, England has been stunned. The British middleweight champion, Mark Kaylor, having some difficulties. With Buster Drayton, came in with an undistinguished record of 18-8 and 2, although did pull off the upset last year over Clint Jackson.
He said he had nothing to lose. He was going to let it all fly out from round one. He certainly has been doing that, and he's certainly buoyed right now by the feeling that he legitimately had Kaylor down. 10,000 hearts stopped just then. Drayton may punch himself out here in this early round, trying to finish it, trying to get something on Kaylor.
This is round 4 at the end of round 3 in the final seconds. Drayton sent Kaylor to the canvas and was ruled a slip. And now the crowd again urging Kaylor on.
Kaylor's punches are crackling and crisp. But every once in a while, Buster comes out with that crazy right hand. Left hooks from out of nowhere. They seem to stun and bother Mark Kaylor because he stops his attack.
Good right hand by Kaylor. In fact, his best of the bout.
Buster just wants to get it on. He wants him stopped someplace so I can punch you. How often it happens that a fighter trains for a very top fight like Animal Fletcher, Hard Rock Green. You bring in an opponent that he thinks, oh, this is not going to be too tough, and he turns out to be very tough.
Yes, Buster Drayton is a replacement for Carlos Tite, who was a replacement for James Hard Rock Green, who was a replacement for Frank the Animal Fletcher.
That's a lot of different guys to prepare for.
Tite dropped out because of an ulcer. Green a scratch because of a cut suffered in training, and Fletcher also dropped out because of an injury.
Oh, low punch.
Kaylor sensing the opportunity, going right back at Drayton. It was hit low.
Beautiful punching by Mark Kaylor, sensing that there was trouble with Buster Drayton. Really turned on the afterburners.
Coming up on 15 seconds left. Round 4, scheduled for 10.
Drayton just trying to make a fight out of it. Wants to go toe-to-toe. He feels he can do it with one punch. Kaylor's just punching too crisp and too good.
That'll rough it for the 4th round. We'll be right back.
Running authority, Jim Fick.
A look back at the final seconds of round 3 as Buster Drayton put Mark Kaylor down. And Brodie, this was ruled a slip. Let's take a look.
He got it. You see, he just about put that one. Oh, that was a Scipion Mustafa Hamsho type of matador push, and then a club on the back of the head. A la Trevor Berbick, John Tate.
So this is round 5. Buster Drayton in the black, 30 years old, out of Philadelphia, now fighting out of Brockton, Massachusetts. Record of 18-8, 2 draws, 12 knockouts. Comes off a good one. First round KO of Jimmy Cable here in London. And Mark Kaylor, 23 years old, the British middleweight champion, who has had his difficulties thus far. He's 26-1, 22 by knockout.
Crisp punching by Mark Kaylor. Again, Buster just won't quit. Right up ahead, right in front of him. In looking at that knockdown again, if that had happened in the middle of the round, it's conceivable they would have counted. Because there was a punch as he was going down. Buster lunges. If he doesn't hit you with a glove, oh, good right hand by Buster Drayton. He doesn't hit you with a hand, he hits you with the shoulder and then his body.
And that good right hand was preceded by a low blow.
Yes.
And referee Mike Jacobs said keep him up.
Mark must be thinking, I tell you, next time bring Animal Fletcher. Skip the substitutes, bring the real thing.
Halfway point. Round 5. Combination thrown by Kaylor. And Drayton laughs it off. Mark Kaylor has a date coming up against Tony Simpson for the European Middleweight Championship. It has been stipulated by the European Boxing Union they must fight by September.
Well, that should certainly be a colorful fight because they're both tough cookies.
There's Drayton going southpaw now. Just made the turn. He's throwing his entire repertoire at Kaylor.
You got to give him credit for trying. Well, he's doing everything. Turning left-handed. He's a human missile there.
And got caught with the right hand from the southpaw stance. Buster Drayton giving us the impression that he's enjoying himself. Final seconds, round 5.
What Ford has done is so big.
Armorall. It's science, but it works like magic.
And this is round 6. Marv Albert and the fight doctor, Freddie Pacheco from Wembley Arena in Wembley, England. And we have more boxing coming up on Sports World later on, including the UCLA Invitational Track and Field meet from Los Angeles. It'll be British heavyweight Frank Bruno, who is 20-0, all 20 by knockout, going up against James Bone Crusher Smith, who is 13-1, 11 by KO. And we're talking two huge heavyweights, 6'4" and 6'3".
We're talking don't go to the kitchen and get a Coke. When these two guys meet, an earthquake is going to happen when they hit each other. Both of them can punch, and both of them are huge. It should be some exciting first round.
Mark Kaylor again getting the left hand in, setting it up with the right. Buster Drayton in the black trunks continues to go high and wide, coming from every conceivable angle. And Kaylor just caught him, and also just went low.
Drayton hurt. Drayton in a lot of trouble. Apparently he doesn't know how to clinch, or doesn't care to.
And continues to lunge and connect, but can't get caught in that manner, particularly if the legs are shot.
He didn't have much in the punch. It's just sort of to tell you, listen, I'm not dead yet. Here, I'm still alive in this fight.
And we have just moved past the halfway point. Round 6, scheduled for 10.
Buster Drayton's a throwback to those colorful fighters. They used to all have nicknames like Hard Times. Come off a freight train and fight anybody and get back on and go someplace else. It's amazing he has not drawn a warning for using his head. Referee has not had much to say in this fight. Although Drayton is losing this fight convincingly, he's the one that's the aggressor. He's coming ahead.
And under 30 seconds remaining in the 6th round. Kaylor coming in with all the physical advantages. 2 inches taller, 6.5 pounds heavier, 4 inches in reach. Final seconds, 6th round.
A day in the life of a Commodore 64.
And this is round 7. Buster Drayton out of Philadelphia in the black. Mark Kaylor in the blue. The British middleweight champion from London, England, record of 26-1, 22 by knockout. Drayton's last fight, he weighed in at 150 pounds, but today Mark Kaylor's manager, Mickey Duff, insisted on the higher weight. So Drayton has had to come way up.
Ready to go home and eat waffles?
A lot of tea. Oh, left hand. Landed by Drayton.
Kaylor holding on. Kaylor held on. There is that. And there goes that. Buster Drayton with everything he's got. Even Buster is smiling at those two misses.
The unorthodox style of Buster Drayton has bothered Mark Kaylor. He has been hit several times, hit solidly.
Come on, don't go. That's it. Go.
Uppercut and Kaylor put down.
He's just spit out his mouthpiece. Just said, I'm all right. They didn't even count on him. I can't believe that.
And Kaylor is put down. And now the referee Jacob says go to your corner.
I can't believe they don't give him an 8 count.
And they both went down as Drayton went down in the follow-through.
They don't count. They didn't count.
That was a slip.
That's the first slip. The rest were all knocked down. He just picked him up. I can't believe what this referee's doing.
And Kaylor put down again. There is no 3 knockdown rule, and it's all over. A major upset. Buster Drayton has stopped the British middleweight champion, Mark Kaylor, in round 7.
What an amazing finish, and what an amazing reaction by the referee who would not count. Had he counted to 8 each time he dropped, he would have had time to recover. He let him continue immediately as if it were a slip and not a knockdown. What a questionable action by the referee. Highly questionable.
Buster Drayton, who upset Clint Jackson with a 1-punch second-round knockout last May, has come up with another major upset. He has stopped Mark Kaylor, considered an up-and-coming middleweight. He has stopped him in round 7. And Kaylor now being helped up. A cavalcade of knockdowns in the 7th round. Kaylor was put down in the 3rd, although it was ruled a slip. Buster Drayton, 30 years old, from Philadelphia, now fighting out of Brockton, Massachusetts, a late replacement. In fact, a replacement for Carlos Tite, who was a replacement for James Hard Rock Green, who was a replacement for Frank the Animal Fletcher. And a polite hand from the crowd here in Wembley from Mark Kaylor. A look at the final knockdown. This is what concluded matters. The heavy right hand, followed by the left and a right. And that was the story. Buster the Demon Drayton, as he calls himself, stopping Mark Kaylor. And we'll get the official announcement. Let's go to the ring.
Ladies and gentlemen, in 2 minutes, 33 seconds of the 7th round, the referee has stopped the contest. Kaylor will picture continue. Drayton is the winner.
There's the winner, Buster Drayton. And Brodie will be talking with the man who pulled off the upset in just a moment.
Since 1911, the
Race after race, lap after lap, Bobby Allison's car kept on running to the National Stock Car Championship and a record for laps completed. He used the same Quaker State motor oil you can buy right off the shelf, refined from 100% Pennsylvania-grade crude.
I don't know if I'd have finished 98% of the laps without Quaker State's 100% Penn-grade protection.
Quaker State, America's favorite motor oil. Today,
Back in Wembley.
Congratulations on spectacular and unexpected win.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to dedicate this fight to my church that I attend, Lovely Baptist in South Philadelphia on 6th night, and also the Reverend crew and all the handicapped and disabled children of the world.
All right. We're going to have to run real fast. There was no mandatory 8 count. That's why he kept getting up, and that's why you kept pounding him. Were you worried at any time about his health? You seemed to really have to take after him.
No, because I was getting more pressure from my corner than I was him. That's why I had to pour it on him. I didn't want to destroy him, but I just wanted to win.
All right.
And I thank God.
We have to run because the next bout is coming in. Thank you very much for a very interesting fight, and congratulations.
All righty.
Back to Marv Albert at ringside.
All right, Ferdy, we're going to take a close-up look at English heavyweight Frank Bruno and James Bone Crusher Smith. They will be battling later on Sports World. Right here, let's pause for this word.
Your typical stand-up British fighter. In fact, he's anything but. Ask his first 22 opponents, all of whom could not stand up to this man's special raw power. His boxing style was simple. The best defense is a good offense. And a loss to Michael Watson a year ago sidetracked his destructive march to the top of the middleweight division. Today, he faces veteran Doug Dewitt, who breathed new life into his career last year when he won the fledgling WBO middleweight belt against Robbie Sims. And in his first defense this past January, gave one of the finest performances of his career, outboxing and outpunching Matthew Hilton and stopping him after 11 rounds. Doug knows a victory keeps him in the thick of the middleweight division, and a loss could end his career. A must-win fight today on Schlitz Malt Liquor Professional Boxing. Weight championship fight for you coming up. Mike McCallum is the WBA champ over in the IBF. It's Michael Nunn who disposed of Marlon Starling. Roberto Duran vacated the WBC, and Doug Dewitt is the WBO champion, and today he defends that title against the number 1.
2 knockouts, his first 22 fights, was exposed last year, as you see Nigel coming in there, was exposed last year in a fight against Michael Watson in London. As a man who could only fight that one dimension that you talked about, he went out right after Watson from the opening bell, couldn't stop him, couldn't knock him out. Watson covered up, and Nigel Benn was stopped really on a nothing jab in the 6th round. Since that time, we should give credit to Nigel Benn. He has done what is necessary to try to put himself back together, to come back. He moved from his family in London, moved to the United States, to Miami, to train at the 5th Street Gym, got a new trainer, and has had 3 fights against reasonable opposition in the comeback. Did not take deadheads.
And Doug Dewitt makes his way to the ring to the strains of Bill Conti and Rocky, and a favorite here on the East Coast, Doug Dewitt.
A lot of people pointed out that if Rocky Balboa was as much of a face fighter as he was in the movies, he couldn't have had that beautiful Stallone nose. It's obvious that Doug Dewitt really is a fighter when you look at his nose, or what is left of it. He's a veteran, and as we said earlier, no more comebacks.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the tail of the tape for these 2 fighters, Dewitt and Benn, and let's check out the numbers. Dewitt 2 years, Benn senior, neither one having problems making this weight. height the same and the reach an advantage to Nigel Benn. The WBO
being introduced. I mean, really one of the most colorful fighters ever to come out of Great Britain. A fabulous character. Wants to prove also that he's not just hype, that he can really fight.
Well, you talk about, Alex, the work that Ben got over here in the States, and Doug Dewitt, one of the more likable guys, as is Nigel Benn. A lot of personality in this fight here today. Two nice guys, unfortunately. Nice guys don't always do so well in this business.
Yeah, and if you ever saw a contrast in ring attire, that was Doug Dewitt with a towel over him with a hole punch in the middle of it, and Nigel Benn with about 8 million sequins.
Well, again, we have trunks of the same color. Nigel Benn opting for the sequin. Doug Dewitt a little bit.
Number one, defend yourselves at all times.
A little more conservative.
Number two, obey my command. Now shake hands and come out of the bell. Shake hands.
Yes. Randy Newman, a veteran referee, we'll call this.
For Doug Benn, Doug DeWitt, he says the key is focus. The key is concentration, especially early when Nigel is the most dangerous.
Well, the one thing Doug DeWitt told us was that I don't think that Ben can hurt me as long as I'm inside. I'm going to try to stay inside that power range, stay inside where he thinks he can inflict damage and not take as much.
A lot of questions to be answered. I mean, it comes down to basically one thing. How much does Doug DeWitt have left, and how much does Nigel Benn have?
And a few times today, we've seen two right-handed fighters fighting.
Doug DeWitt primarily a left hooker. Nigel Benn punching power in both hands. Key question with Nigel is stamina. I mean, he just did a complete El Foldo with Watson when he couldn't stop him. As we pointed out, he has won 10 rounds twice since then. This is scheduled for 12.
Good uppercut by Nigel Benn. Got behind the glove of Doug DeWitt. Oh, and Doug DeWitt bleeding from a cut on his left eye, on the side of his left eye. Doug DeWitt is bleeding profusely from that cut.
And he has been cut many, many times, and he has generally been able to handle it.
And he was saying that it was from a butt. Doug DeWitt was turning to Randy Newman and saying it was a butt that opened this up.
We will find out at the end of the round whether that's the case. They won this title from Robbie Sims. He has 44 stitches over that left eye, and that cut is reopened.
And Nigel Benn really turning it up a notch at the sight of that blood. But for Ben, this is a tactic that has backfired on him before.
Yeah, but I think if I were Doug DeWitt, the last thing I thought, oh, he got hurt there.
Doug DeWitt taking some shots to the head.
I just don't think if I were Doug, I'd put my head in there like that to get more damage inflicted. You just can't imagine from Doug DeWitt's standpoint a worse scenario than this happening. Opening seconds of the fight, and he's all busted up.
Well, not only is he busted up, Alex, but he's taking some good blows to the head from Nigel Benn. Doug DeWitt not blocking many of Benn's shots. He needs that jab that he's exhibiting right there to keep him away.
He's desperate for that jab. Oh!
Yeah, there's Nigel Benn hitting on the separation and gets the warning from Randy Newman.
Randy Newman got right in his face. That's what Doug DeWitt wants to do. Let Nigel Benn miss some punches. Take some of the zip out of his right hand right on the top.
We've got 20 seconds left in the first round. We know we're having a problem with our clock. We'll get a break. Coming up on 10 seconds left in the first round. Doug DeWitt's corner will be busy. His cut man is Ralph Citro.
This is the action in round one where the heads may have clashed, causing that cut.
Ralph Citro, the cut man, was busy. He wasn't bleeding when he came out of the corner, but you can see already it's opened back up.
The important thing here, Dan, is, and this is a very strange rule in boxing, Randy Newman notified the supervisors at ringside that that cut was opened by an unintentional cut. Therefore, if the fight is stopped right now, before 3 rounds have finished, it will be a no decision. And in many ways, it's in Doug DeWitt's best interest, I think, to have the fight stop now, because he'll keep his title. I think I want a bad cut man in my corner.
That's an interesting perspective. We're going to show you the cut closely. You can see it. It's on the outside of the eye. Now, the good news there is, by not being above the eye, the blood won't run into the eye and obstruct his vision. But a nasty cut nonetheless, at least a half an inch long. And Ralph Citro, I have to say, Alex, has done a good job, not taking nearly as much. Although we'll see after that right hand from Nigel Benn appeared to land right on it. And another right from Nigel Benn. And Doug Dewitt is not blocking many of Benn's shots.
He's blocking him with his head. He was wobbled at the end of the first round, and his legs went a little bit right there, Dan. Let me just finish the rules. If this fight goes past 3 rounds, then you go to the scorecards under WBO rules. And Doug Dewitt's off to such a terrible start. Nigel Benn would have to totally run out of gas, as he has done, for Doug to get back on the scorecard, or for him to continue to go on and turn it around.
There's Doug Dewitt going on the offensive, but Nigel Benn fights his way right off the rope.
A no decision, of course, would mean that Doug Dewitt would keep his WBO version of a world championship. And we may not think much of the WBO, but to Doug Dewitt it means a lot.
At least at this point in time, Alex, we have to observe that the eye doesn't appear to be swelling, and the cut is no longer bleeding.
That's right, but how much it's changed Doug DeWitt's strategy is a question. How much those punches he took when he was trying to solve the problems in the first round, how much that took out of him. Also, it did not help at all in his ability to win this fight.
Well, but by the same token, I think we have to say that Doug DeWitt... Nigel Benn is down! Nigel Benn appears to be okay.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. He's been down twice. He's dangerous this early when he's down. He's dangerous. Don't walk in and expect to finish him without getting some punches back.
A look in the eyes of Nigel Benn tells you he's okay.
Man, oh man.
What a finish to the second round.
Whoa! Enough action for one fight already. And that was the old Nigel Benn. Let's listen.
Composure, going back. You've lost a lot of punches.
Great play in the knockdown.
You still ain't going to the body.
DeWitt put out that jab. Benn trying to go under it. And as they came up, they both went for left hooks. And Doug DeWitt got there the first with the most. Another angle.
A short snapping left.
Watch them both throw lefts. Boom! And interestingly, Doug seems to be backing up. There are very few people who can back up. He saw the Benn punch coming, seemed to be throwing his own punch as he was trying to get out of the way of Benn. And he still had enough power to drop it.
Look at me.
Look at the cut and look how effectively the corner of Doug DeWitt has closed that cut.
You get it next time. Give him a lift.
Ralph Citro, one of the veteran cutmen in this game.
Come down.
And Doug DeWitt, what a turnaround in the second round.
And he just got, if not even, that first round might have been a 10-8 Benn round. Doug DeWitt got a 10-8 round there on our scorecard, so he's right back in this fight.
This is the third round from Caesars in Atlantic City. And look at Nigel Benn.
This is still early for Nigel. He still has some power left. Whether he can keep that power, cuts open again. Whether he can keep that power is the key in the fight.
I mean, in Nigel Benn, we have to emphasize, Alex, we have somewhat of an unknown commodity as to how he'll react in a title fight the longer it goes. He's not showed great stamina.
Not in the fight against Michael Watson last year, but pretty good resiliency and pretty good stamina in coming back to go the distance twice against Jorge Amparo and Sandalline Williams.
But he's not gone the distance with a fighter taking the toll out of him the way that Doug DeWitt will.
That's right. The distance here is 12, not 10. Good right-hand counter there by Benn. DeWitt blocked a little bit of it.
Oh, good left hand by Nigel Benn. Oh, and there's an uppercut by Benn that gets in.
Might have heard. Remember Tommy Hearn saying in the previous special, Dan? Oh, man.
Look at the power of Nigel Benn. I mean, he's hurting Doug DeWitt.
Doug is holding on. I mean, he forced that clinch, and very few people can force Doug DeWitt to hold on. In our first 90-minute show, Tommy Hearn said this is going to be a chess match.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of people think Tommy should retire. If he does, he does not have a future right now in boxing to prognosticate.
No,
a chess match it is not Ben.
A chess match this is not. Now, there's never been any doubt about Doug Dewitt's ability to take a punch.
Let me just say, Dan, not until recently, he did have a very strange third round knockout to Jose Quinones, and then got stopped by Kaylor in his try for the title, and that was very unusual for a man who at one point was thought to have the best chin in boxing. Right now, he's getting hurt by these punches and holding on.
If it is DeWitt's strategy to let Benn punch himself out, I would attempt. Oh, and a right hand by Nigel Benn, and Doug DeWitt goes down. What a right hand by Nigel Benn.
5, 6, the impressive thing is not just the power, but also the speed that he's getting in there.
10 seconds left in the third round. Can Doug DeWitt make it? Doug DeWitt, his gloves are not able to protect his head.
But he just on instinct.
Nigel Benn all over Doug DeWitt after the bell. The crowd is booing.
Come on.
Nigel Benn, look at the crowd.
Come on.
You saw them booing.
Be a little. I listen for a minute, all right? Listen for a minute. Extend them a little bit. Fine. Use the jab a little. All right, I get it.
Tommy Callaghan said extend him and started to go on it. Doug said, I get it.
Look at that right hand from Nigel Benn right on the chin, and then he follows it up.
And the amazing thing is, when Doug got back after taking that right hand and watch another one comes in behind it, that chopping right hand, when Doug DeWitt was on the stool, he seemed to be totally with it. I mean, he answered right away to Randy Newman. He answered right away to Tommy Gallagher. At this age, though, Dan, with a decade of professional fights, you know, how much can he take?
Well,
and the important thing now is that we're into the fourth round, and if that cut opens up, it might be a sidelight because he might get stopped just on the punches, but if that cut does open up, now they go to the scorecard. He's got to now be once again a couple of points behind.
Alex, DeWitt just hasn't shown any defense. I mean, Nigel Benn is landing punch after punch to his head. DeWitt won't get the gloves up. Even early here in the fourth round, Nigel Benn is connecting to the head of Doug DeWitt. Oh, and what a right hand to the ear. And DeWitt's left is clear down by his waist.
And look at the guts of Doug DeWitt coming back, double jabbing. But he's after taking that punch.
I can't believe I was leaving his head exposed.
The longer Doug DeWitt can survive, the more opportunity he'll give Nigel Benn to punch himself out. Right now, it doesn't look even close to that happening. Benn looks very fresh.
But again, if you want a guy to punch himself out, try to block some of them. You don't want to block them with your cheekbones.
Doug DeWitt blocked the bombs of Matthew Hilton very well in his last fight in January. But this time, Nigel Benn has just gotten there quicker and more sharply and not as wide as Matthew Hilton.
And Nigel Benn can see out of both eyes. That fight,
well, you know,
Matthew Hilton only saw out of one.
A few seconds ago, Dan, he just pawed his right hand. He's pawing his right eye. He just pawed it again, as though he may have a problem with his eye. I don't see anything here. Again, he paws on it.
We're over halfway through the fourth round here in Atlantic City.
Yeah, he is cut.
Trying to ascertain.
I just can't see.
Yeah. Another good right hand by Nigel Benn. DeWitt rode with it.
And you see him paw again. Looks almost like he's been thumbed. He has a little bit of blood in the eye. Still throwing murderous bombs.
Doug DeWitt with his gloves down. You'll wonder how DeWitt's going to go the balance of this fight with his gloves down by his waist.
Just did something very smart there. Pull in, grab him. Don't try to smother Benn. Can't pull out with his head.
That's like the first thing he told us yesterday, Alex. That's where he wanted to be, in tight.
Yeah, he got to be even tighter because he doesn't care right now about his own punching. He's got it.
Oh, and look at the left from Dewitt.
Beautiful.
You saw the head snap of Nigel Benn. This fight is scheduled for 12. This is the end of the fourth. Boy, you got to wonder if they can keep up this pace. Nigel Benn and Doug Dewitt fighting for DeWitt's WBO middleweight crown. This has been a seesaw fight in terms of both fighters have had their moment in the sun, so to speak, but it's been Nigel Benn who's come on to dominate.
If you ask yourself why Doug Dewitt just put his right hand up, I have no idea. I mean, it wasn't a feint. Anything to distract Nigel Benn. Right now, Nigel Benn is taking his time. He's trying to measure Doug Dewitt. He's trying to make his punches count, pick his shots, not waste energy. Already the cut is open. DeWitt's left eye.
Nigel Benn, no stranger to adversity, Alex. Over 4 years in the Army in Great Britain, served 18 months in Northern Ireland.
He credits that experience with giving him some of the discipline and been able to become a world-class fighter. Tough to say who this favors right now. This is the chess match Thomas Holmes was talking about. Whether it lasts very long, we'll see, but
another good right hand.
From Doug DeWitt's point of view, it would seem to be pretty good for him because it gives him time to get himself back together after taking such a bad beating. From Nigel Benn's point of view, maybe he senses his energy going a little bit and he doesn't want to waste it, he wants to conserve it. So we'll have to wait and see.
Well, right now, it's the left hand of Doug DeWitt that is failing him, as he's not picking off the right hand of Nigel Benn at all. The left hand is low, and Doug DeWitt's paying the price. Another combination by Benn.
Oh, Doug, you can't pull back like that. He's just pulling back with his hands down.
Nigel Benn being a whole lot more patient this time.
Obviously, the quietest round of the fight, Dan. I mean,
stop punching. Let him go. Let him out of there. Don't wait for him.
The cut alongside Doug DeWitt's left eye doesn't appear like it's going to be a factor. At least it's not now. The eye's not swelling. And now the fight is inside where Doug DeWitt would like it to be.
The other thing that the cut does, Dan, is because it wasn't an unintentional butt, and they do go to the scorecards after round 3, you can't afford to fall behind because at any moment the cut could get worse and you got to go to the scorecards. So you got to stay ahead. You can't fight a long-range tactical fight.
Well, this one's scheduled for 12. We come to the end of the 5th. Action in the 6th round. Blitz Malt Liquor, professional boxing, Doug Dewitt and Nigel Benn. Harsh words for the champion. Oh, what a left hand by Nigel Benn, and he knows he's got Dewitt hurt.
And 2 minutes and 37 seconds left in this 6th round. A long time for Doug to survive.
And Doug DeWitt is just looking lackadaisical.
In the 2nd round, they both threw left, and DeWitt got there first with the most. This time, they both threw left, and Nigel Benn had the power.
Let him go. Let him go.
Doug DeWitt has taken some serious shots from Nigel Benn.
It's yours, man.
Any defensive posture is out the window with DeWitt. He's been hammered.
There's Doug DeWitt getting Nigel Benn in the corner, letting his hands go with power punches.
Okay. It's yours, man. You've got to run it.
Oh, and a vicious uppercut by Benn misses.
Let him go.
Look at DeWitt. I mean, he just looks relaxed to the point of I don't understand it. That's the jab DeWitt needs, Alex.
Tommy Gallagher just yelled at him, let the right hand go. When you got him, when you land 3 jabs like that, put the right hand behind him.
4 unanswered jabs by Dewitt, and you can see that
But the jabs didn't have enough movement to keep Ben out, Dan. He walked through him and landed a power punch.
All right, stop punching.
Come on, big guy. Take what he gives us.
Come on, stop. Keep the shot.
Behind that jail.
Dan, this is the new Nigel Benn. In places with the best of the old. He is not going hell-bent for leather like he used to do. He is picking his spots. He does not appear to be tired, but he does appear to still have some serious power coming up to the halfway point of the fight. A lot of people, a lot of his fans, a lot of fans of action fights might hope that the old Nigel Benn would come in and go hell-bent for leather and try to score a knockout. But he's fighting a tactical fight.
Oh, and another solid right hand from Ben.
Nigel thinks that he can just continue going this way and score a decision.
Oh, and there's a good right hand.
And there's no reason right now it looks like he shouldn't.
A good right by Dewitt. Here's the halfway point. In the 7th round from Caesars in Atlantic City. Doug Dewitt being outpointed and out-hustled and out-hit by Nigel Benn, the challenger.
Already the Dewitt cut is open, not bleeding into the eye.
Take what he gives you, Sam.
A distraction maybe more than actually harming the vision. If it's not harming the vision, then Doug Dewitt can see those right hands coming.
A good stiff left from Dewitt snaps the head of Nigel Benn back.
But as you saw, it didn't intimidate him.
No.
The cut on the right eyelid of Nigel Benn has not reopened. There is some swelling under Nigel Benn's right eye.
There's Tommy Gallagher, Doug DeWitt's trainer, who's had harsh words for DeWitt in the corner after every round. Not pleased at all with the performance being given by Doug today.
Well, he's got to be concerned. I think he knows that Doug is giving everything he's got right now. Tactically, he's not doing what Tommy tells him to do. Whether at this stage of his career Doug is able to, or whether he's just one of those lapses in concentration he said he had to avoid. I don't know.
And another good right hand from Ben, and luckily DeWitt slipped the second one.
Yeah, that was actually good reactions. You're right there. If those had gotten home, Doug might have been down on the canvas again. But he showed good reaction. Good 1-2 by DeWitt, but Ben comes right back with a crushing left that more than equals it.
Oh, and there's a good combination by DeWitt. Nigel Benn almost went back through the ropes. More through loss of balance than it was the force of the DeWitt blow.
And again, the left hook by Ben snaps DeWitt's head back and makes him hold on.
Another good combination by both fighters. Doug DeWitt, 28 years old. Nigel Benn, 26. And Nigel Benn loses his balance.
And thinking there.
Pretty good job there, Nigel. I'm not sure what it was, but good job. We move into the 8th round of this championship fight. Nigel Benn scored, and look at the left hand from Nigel Benn, and then Ben hits DeWitt as DeWitt is sitting on the rope. And Doug DeWitt is not going to come up.
Hey!
Well, he looked like he was going down, and Randy Newman lets him fight.
And that's the Randy Newman that let Carl Williams continue against Mike Tyson. 4. I'll tell you what, Doug DeWitt was hurt worse than Carl Williams when he fought Mike Tyson. And he's letting him go again.
The 3 knockdown rule is in effect. If Doug DeWitt goes down again, and that's it.
Nigel Benn is the new WBO World Heavyweight Champion. I'm not sure he was even sure of it, Dan.
Randy Newman, the referee, had no choice in the WBO. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect. That was the 3rd knockdown, automatically ending the fight. And Doug Dewitt, Alex, gave me every impression he wasn't coming up after the 1st knockdown.
He showed tremendous guts and unbelievable heart, Dan. But it just wasn't enough today. Nigel Benn did go back to the drawing board. He did make an effective comeback. And give him a lot of credit for it. Let's look at the first knockdown of this 8th round. Left hook. Dougie just crumpled. Right hand, I don't know how much damage that did.
It looked like it
but
barely
we thought, now watch Doug try, well, we're not going to, let it roll, Bobby. Just let it, all right. He did manage to beat the count. Here's the 2nd knockdown. The right hand, the right uppercut in combination. A classic Mike Tyson combination. Dougie Dewitt was up immediately after that one. Randy Newman let him continue. And then the final knockdown. Behind the jab, Nigel Benn comes in, drills the right hand, puts the left in combination. Dougie Dewitt just looking for something to hold on to, couldn't find it. Randy Newman waved it off immediately.
Well, Schlitz Malt Liquor, in the name of Nigel Benn, will be presenting a $1,000 check to the Alliance for a Living Ocean, which is an organization founded in 1987 to increase awareness of the need to protect our oceans for future generations. We'll return here with some interviews. Schlitz Malt Liquor Professional Boxing is going to continue after this word from your local ABC. Celebrating in Great Britain as we now have a British champion, and he's alongside Alex Swallow right now. Go ahead, Alex.
He's not quite alongside me. He's going to be in a minute. Nigel. Before we get to the fight itself, did you realize when he went down the 3rd time that there was a 3 knockdown rule?
No, I didn't know. He said to my manager Ambrose shouted out to me, goes, "No, one more knockdown. I thought, what? And then I realized that it was in effect.
A little bit of history, Nigel. You lost a crushing defeat to Michael Watson last year, in which you were stopped and really had nothing after 6 rounds.
Yeah.
You said yourself you're a one-dimensional fighter, just hell-bent for leather, punches. But we said that you went back to the drawing board. Yeah. You realized that punching alone wasn't get you to a world title. You took 3 reasonable tune-up fights, and then you came back, and there was a totally different Nigel Benn here.
Well, I had to go back to my old self, especially fighting someone of Doug Dewitt's caliber. And I know he's a fighter. And for me to box him and just jab, I wouldn't have won. So I thought to myself, I would match him for everything he throws at me. And, you know, this now is like 10 years since we last had a middleweight world champion in Britain. The last one was Alan Minter, who lost to Marvin Hagler. And now, you know, it's a dream come true. You know, the 5 years I spent in the army, the dedication I've been doing for this fight, it's all paid off in the end, and I'm over the moon. Mum, I told you I'll win you this.
Nigel, it seemed like when you dropped him, first of all, the knockdown, how badly were you hurt when he dropped you?
No, it was an accurate punch what he caught me with, and I went down, but I knew where I was at all the time. I knew where I was, you know, I took a great shot, and that's what a true champion is, the one that can take a shot and say, right, bud, let's go. You know, it's got to be able to get off the ground and continue fighting.
After you had him down, you paced yourself. It seemed like you picked your shots, Nigel. You didn't jump right on him when you had him hurt.
No.
You picked your shots, you took your time, you made your punches count.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a hard fight. I didn't want to waste no shots. And I'm thinking about the 5th, 6th round, he caught me with a cut, and I couldn't really see it out of my left eye. But I knew what his intention was, is to throw the left hooks, left to the body and left to the jaw, and I knew what he was going to do.
He's a tough man.
Oh my God, he's very tough indeed. But I knew for a fact I could match him.
Congratulations to you. Where do you go for here? Who do you want next?
Well, first of all, I'll sit down and talk with my promoter, Bob Aram, and see where we go. But first of all, I want to get back to England and see my kids. I ain't seen them for 2 months, so that's all I really want to do now, is go back, see my whole family, and then after this fight, it's I don't know, I'm just like, I don't know really how to take this. It's like, you know, a dream come true. Whatever happened, no one can take it away from me, because I set out to be world champion and I've achieved that, so I'm very happy indeed.
championship weight and bringing a 36-fight record. 35 wins, 23 inside the scheduled distance, and just one defeat. He's the former British and Commonwealth, European, and the former undefeated IBO champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Manchester's number one is So, sports fans and Sky Sports fans, let's get the action underway. 12 rounds of boxing for the vacant WBC Featherweight Championship of the world.
Referee Daniel van der Wielen.
Daniel van der Wielen will now give his instructions.
Experienced official. Brodie still looks a bit tentative there. Chi absolutely nerveless.
Dressing rooms. Obey my command at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Give the best you can. Shake hands.
Brodie has to be careful not to be caught cold here, because Chi could give him the charge. He was asleep in the dressing room. I think he's a bit of a crazy man, this In Jin Chi. He looked it against Morales that night, didn't he?
He certainly did. Looked fired up, and I'm sure he's going to be fired up here. So Brodie has to be ready for this charge.
He won't stop swarming forward, In Jin Chi. I can't remember him taking a backward step against Morales. He's likely to be in Brodie's face all night long. Here we go, 12 rounds. Forget all the tin pot titles. This is the real one, the WBC Featherweight Championship at 9 stone, the classic division. Proper title, proper fight, as the promoters have been hammering the message, and this time they're right. Brodie has to concentrate, stay cool, not be in front of Chi all the time. Just a question of how much that torrid battle with Morales might have taken out of In Jin Chi.
Already the banged heads.
The banged heads. And he's got a nasty knock by the nose. Oh, goodness me. He's holding his face here, In Jin Chi, in the opening seconds, and looks very distressed. Well, remember, the fight has to have 4 completed rounds, otherwise it's going to be a no contest.
Well, there's certainly blood about him. There's blood on the head of Brodie. I haven't seen the eye yet.
He's been holding it with a glove. We need to get a look at In Jin Chi's face, but he's distressed by that, and that might actually be just what Brodie wants. Can't see a lot of blood around there, but it was obviously very, very painful. He's on the forehead. The problem.
And there's the blood on the side of Brodie's head. It looks like he's got the cut on the head.
Right in the opening seconds as well. He's very free with his head, In Jin Chi. He was against Morales, had a point deducted in that big fight in front of 20,000 people in LA.
Well, he's got that jerky type style where he dips that head down, and that's got to be a danger for Brodie.
He's got all that blood down the left side of his head. But funnily enough, it was In Jin Chi who looked to be the fighter who was in pain from that.
Well, he seemed to take it on the face, and that would be a lot more painful than the side of the head.
Low blow with the left hand from Chi. Brodie has marked up in nearly all his recent fights. I don't think he'll let that distress him. None of that blood is flowing into the eye. It looks quite bad. So it's a dramatic start, Glenn.
It is pretty solid jab from Chi.
Brodie has worked long and hard for this. In fact, in a way, he's been working for this since he was 10 years old, when he first went into a gym. He's come through a few crises in his career, been through some bad times. Is this his night? Nice left hook from Brodie that time. Chi rather charged in. He's quite easy to hit this career.
He is, but it looks as if he's a pretty strong puncher himself.
Could be the brawler against the boxer, this. And Chi is the brawler. He just keeps on throwing leather at you like this. Body punches, little right hand as well. Now, he mustn't get dragged, Brodie, into a toe-to-toe scrap too early, I don't think, with this fella.
No, he can't afford to. He looks strong. He's getting into his momentum now. Chi's starting to swarm forward, throwing big shots.
Body punch got in was a good one from Brodie. Every expectation that this could be one of the best fights we'll see in a British ring this year. It's certainly started full of incident.
Okay, you've done great. Listen, keep banging up, buddy.
As they look at the cut, let me just remind you about the cuts rule. If there's an accidental clash of heads, and that was accidental, I'm pretty sure, if the fight has to be stopped before the end of 4 completed rounds, we will have a no contest. Look at that. Look where that is, that cut.
Yep, right on the top of his head, and it's a bad cut. And that's where they come together. Instantly you see Brodie feels that. But he come off the worst on the top of the head, and yet Chi got it right in the eye, and yet didn't mark up.
It was a massive collision when you look at that again.
It really was, and you would have thought that Chi would have come out that a lot worse than Brodie, because it connected with the top of his head, but he's the one that's come out with a nasty gash on the scalp.
Close first round. Here's the second. Brodie in the red, white and blue in his home city of Manchester. Man with a soft side, but certainly not in the ring. He gave his first ever purse to help use the money to make a headstone for his mother's grave. Caught on the counter there by Chi, who gets him with a body shot. He's a rough handful, the man from Seoul.
That's what Brodie has to beware of, the wild punches. Got to keep his boxing together and always think about defense at all times.
He's been on the floor a few times in his career, but usually come through the crisis. Michael Brodie, his only official defeat against Willie Horeen for the WBC Super Bantamweight title. Good shots there from Brodie, close in. Now then, In Jin Chi's on top of him again, he's got him down. Body and head shots, and Brodie on the floor. It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign, this. And we're only in round 2. He's breathing heavily. It was the body shot that did it, I'm pretty sure. Left hook started the trouble. There's another one. And this time, no knockdown. No knockdown.
No, he's just pushed over there, just bundled over.
Chi here. This is what he does. He keeps on coming and Brodie can't get out of his way. He's in desperate trouble here in round 2.
These shots are hurting Brodie as he tries to fight back.
He's fighting this Korean too strong. And he's standing toe-to-toe with him. He must get on this fight a little bit, buy some time, find a way in this fight. But there is no time with In Jin Chi. He doesn't give you any. Even Morales couldn't stay out of his way.
That's right, he's totally relentless. He's got to find a good shot, Brodie, just to put him on the back foot a little bit.
Well, he came down from a terrible knockdown against Pastor Maureen. Brodie came back to win that fight, but this is something else again.
Well, you don't have to worry about the character of Michael Brodie. Look at this.
He's cut back at him. The crowd are on their feet in this NBN arena here in Manchester. Brodie's made a fantastic comeback in the round, having looked on the very brink of defeat. 2 more good body shots from him. What a comeback from Brodie in round 2, having been on the canvas.
Well, fantastic. This shows what he's really made of, Michael Brodie.
Again, the heads bang together. Great left hook to the ribs from Brodie.
The body shots could be a key here for Brodie. They seem to be taking a little bit out of In Jin Chi.
Oh, that was terrific stuff. What a round for the WBC featherweight crowd. Breathtaking action.
Okay, Mike. Okay.
Brodie on the floor. Glenn, have you scored that a 10-8 round?
Yep, I have. It was a torrid round, and Brodie did well to come back, but In Jin Chi did some good work early on and put Brodie on the floor, and Brodie did look on the verge of being stopped. Tremendous courage and bravery and toughness to come back from that, but still a 10-8 round for me.
There were a whole avalanche of punches from In Jin Chi. The body shot looked particularly damaging, but look at the comeback of Brodie.
And I think that the first shot, the left hook to the body, took something out of In Jin Chi, and I think that's the key for Brodie. He's got to get the good shots in there. That could be In Jin Chi's weakness.
Brodie's only ever lost once to Willie Horine. Chi's only lost twice, once on his debut, the other one against the brilliant Eric Morales, who, by the way, has vacated this title, moved up to super featherweight, which is how these two are contesting it here. This is the real stuff. Brodie, red, white and blue, remember. And quite happy, by the looks of things, to engage himself in a trial of strength with this career. And the body shots are a vital part of the Brodie strategy.
I think he has to. He has to try and push In Jin Chi back, because Chi just wants to come forward, and he might not do it on the back foot. Certainly Brodie needs to test him out there.
And another good left hook in. Brodie there, listen to the crowd. Morales didn't concentrate on the body like this. Is another ferocious left hook from Brodie. It's a frenetic fight at about 110 miles an hour. Two more left hooks from Brodie, who's done the better work in this round so far.
Some great work from Brodie on the front foot. He's looking good, looking strong.
He just will not stop throwing those hooks to the body.
Well, he can't afford to in this fight. Good shot from Chi.
Blocks well that time, Brodie. Gets his gloves up. Chi just took a break on the ropes there. Gulped for air a moment. And he's getting to him a bit, I think, with these body punches. Michael Brodie is fighting like a man possessed. He knows this has to be the night. Now or never.
Another good left hook to the body going in from Brodie.
Just a torrent of body punches. There's something dispirited about Chi at this point.
Yeah, he's looking tired.
He's getting to it, you know, Glenn. He's getting to him at the moment. Chi may come up as a straight right this time from Brodie. He's picking the punches now with real authority. Left uppercut back from the Korean. It's pulsating start this.
It's a terrific fight. He thought it might be. But look at Michael Brodie. Look how much this means to him.
Brodie, who was brilliant last time against Juan Cabrera, maybe the performance of his career. But he's up a notch or two from that kind of fight here. Listen to the crowd getting behind Brodie. Whatever they paid to get in, they paid double.
Decent right hand from Chi.
Brodie's round in a big way.
After 4 rounds, after 3 rounds.
Welcome back. Take a look at the computer check on body punches landed so far. Look at that. 55-14 in Brodie's favour.
Well, look at that left hook going in, and he sacks back on the ropes, Chi there. And I think it is really important that he keeps that body attack up, because that's a weakness for Chi. Good headshots going in there from Brodie.
And all this with the incentive of a fight against the world number 1, Marco Antonio Pereira, for the winner. If Pereira wants that fight, he may not. Good right hand counter from In Jin Chi, who's been put onto the back foot here by Brodie. Morales didn't often manage to do that with him. Another left hook.
Well, he did look in great shape going into this fight. He has prepared meticulously.
Feeling too that he's mellowed and matured into a proper featherweight now, Brodie. This is his 7th fight at the weight. Looks big and strong, ready. The man has come through all kinds of adversity, including the breakup of his marriage this year. But from that adversity, he's clearly drawn some strength.
Well, he's always managed in the past to prevail, whatever or however hard it's getting. And he's looking good here.
There's There's a focus and intensity about Brady in this phase of the fight. Gainer right to the body. Just went let In Jin Chi out of there. He's got him trapped, cornered. And the Korean is just staying there.
Well, Eric Morales, for 12 rounds, couldn't do this, could he?
Well, Michael Brodie has been saying for a year or two he thinks he's as good as Morales and Barrera. Not many people have believed him, but he wants the chance to prove it, and he might get it if he can win this.
Good left hook from Chi there, and then a straight punch following.
Right up the top is an excellent shot from Brodie. Must be careful not to punch himself out because the pace here is frantic. Chi doesn't seem to quite know what to do with him at the moment, though.
So Brodie's doing to Chi what Chi did to Morales, and that's really put a lot of intensity and firepower his way.
Again, he's very free with the head there was Brodie. Watch it, says the referee. He'll need to be on the case. This could get dirty. Even Morales said In Jin Chi was a dirty fighter. Coming from him, it was coming from a Mexican, it was almost a compliment.
There's a right uppercut there, and then a short right hook from Brodie.
Oh, and the right hand too. Chi sucks that up as well, but he does look as if he's sagged a bit. Brodie again for me.
Yeah, me too.
That's the one. That's the secret. That's how you'll win the fight.
Welcome back. 51% success rate for Brodie in this fight so far. That is phenomenal.
Isn't it really? At this sort of level, how good is that? 51%. Not missing with much at all. Look at that right hand. Didn't he soak it up well?
But this argument is a long way from being concluded, believe me. Or you'd think so anyway. One or two distress signals coming out of the In Jin Chi corner, I thought, between the rounds. We're just taking a look around at the referee. There was some talk on a website this week of Chi retiring if he loses. Now what does that mean? Does that mean they think it could be his last fight?
Well, you can read anything into that. You might think he's so confident that he wouldn't possibly lose. Upset at the referee pulling him off Brodie there.
Chi's coming on strong again here, and Nige with some big looking headshots. Brodie looked a bit unsteady. Oh, it's a torrent of punches. Brodie has to get himself together. He's all over the place here. Chi's back on him, and he must fire back. And he's got a long way left in the round too, Brodie. It swings again. This amazing fight in the 5th round. There's been another clash of heads.
The eyes are starting to swell up a little bit for Brodie. He had to withstand that torrent assault there from Chi. But he's still there.
Just as well In Jin Chi's not a big knockout puncher, otherwise Brodie might have been stopped right there. He was all over the place for a few seconds, Glenn.
Yeah, he was, and a good body shot coming in from Brodie. That's always got to be the answer for him after any of these Chi attacks.
Has to get back into that impressive rhythm that he has, but there was a sign that In Jin Chi, having been through a bad patch in the fight, is quite capable of coming back and coming back in a major way.
Just an accumulation of punches that could be the problem for Brodie when Chi lets those attacks go.
In Jin Chi just seemed to be wilting a little before this round, but he's come back. Just fighting in spurts a little, the Korean.
Yeah, he's come back and looked a bit stronger in this round, hasn't he?
throws those big, wide, arcing shots in Jin Chi. Brodie's the better technician in a more conventional way. There are many other factors to stir in the mix here. Cheese round that time. Well, in that last round there was another crisis for Michael Brodie, just at a time when we thought he was starting to get things under control.
Yep. In Jin Chi came out, look at that, really letting the punches go in a big way, and at some point he looked like he was going to wilt and he was going to fall and go down under this pressure, but he managed to fight back.
Great start to the round with that spearing jab from Manchester's Michael Brodie. 29 years of age, and he catches G with a right hand, and his legs seem to stiffen. Then I fancy G.
Two good right hands, and that seemed to take a lot out of him. Great start of the round from Brodie.
Who's come out fast, sent out by trainer Ray Farrell with the instructions, get back in control of it, and how? Right uppercut this time. She's in that bad place on those ropes again. You might be watching the fight of the year right here.
Well, he's hit Chi with some very good shots that stiffened the legs in this round. Really has fired up, come out well, Brodie. He's certainly going to test the heart of this career in Jin Chi.
It's a straight right this time from Brodie. Has to watch the fence too. Doesn't want to stand in front of In Jin Chi. I think he has the technical skills to not get hit quite as much as he's getting hit, Brodie, with a little more lateral movement.
Well, this is going to be a test of character, of strength, of sheer will and determination.
But Brodie is more than holding his own at the moment. He's been on the floor, he's been in trouble in that last round. But other than that, his body punching and precision has made him look the better operator. There are times when Chi looks like he fears he'd be charged with loitering if he stopped throwing a punch for a second or two. Brodie, lovely right hand. He does hit the punches beautifully. He's a throwback fighter in many ways, is Michael Brodie.
Well, that's what he's going to look to do. Pick accurate shots. Again, he's getting back on top. Brodie.
He's putting together everything he's ever learned on this one night to try to become the WBC's featherweight champion, to lift himself into the world elite, to get noticed in America and around the world, to get people talking about him at last. That's what's on the line for Brodie, plus a shed load of money too.
Well, finishing the round well, Brodie. This is what his fans have come to see.
Chi just catches him with the right hand and he backs off, but Brodie does the better work. Okay. Well, what a fight. This is something special.
It is. It really is a terrific fight, as it should be. It's a proper world title. Well, good work from Brodie. Finished that round off well with Chi against the ropes after a great start with that left right hand.
Here comes the 7th round. Close fight, I would think, on the scorecard so far, Glenn.
Yep, I would think there's not a great deal in it. I've got it by 1 to In Jin Chi, 57-56.
With a 10-8 round in his favour. That's how the judges, I'm sure, will have scored it. They're from Hawaii, Japan and Spain, by the way, tonight. Blood by the nose of the Korean. Oh, he's caught with a right cross this time, and a left hook from Brodie, who sometimes is precision personified.
Got to keep mixing up head and body.
But you can never feel safe with Michael Brodie in a fight like this, because he has been shaken up and hurt and floored in this fight already. Is another crisis looming at some point?
Well, there's blood from the nose of Chi. Times he's looked tired and distressed himself.
WBC President Jose Sulaiman is here for this fight. They've had their problems, the WBC, but they are regarded as the #1 sanctioning body, the most authentic one. That's what it's for tonight. Good right hand for Brodie. And here goes Chi again. First one fellow on top, then the other one. You just can't wait to see what's on the next page here.
Good little volley of punches from Chi.
The hit back of In Jin Chi. And all he does is take a little breather and then carry on throwing leather.
Well, it's a Martin will just get a one for pushing there. And Martin is strength at this stage in the fight.
You almost feel like something has to give, don't you?
Yeah, you certainly do. It felt like that from a long way out, but
something or someone, but who?
Good uppercut then, right hand from Brodie. Looking the stronger of the two in this round.
Classy stuff from him. Chi just looks to sag again. These punches must start to have an effect. They're rocking back his head.
There's a good one coming back from Chi. Rock Brodie's head back, but
this Korean is the kind of guy who just doesn't know when he's beaten. He will just carry on firing. But Brodie's on top at the moment. Okay, let's get an alternative view of what we're seeing now from Spencer Oliver, who's with Adam Smith.
What an absolutely astonishing fight. Spencer, we're seeing something memorable here.
Well, one of the best I've seen for a long time. I mean, I've got it all levels going into the 7th here. Tremendous, tremendous contest.
Ebbs and flows. It's a battle of will and spirits in there. Who has the upper hand?
Well, this is the big question mark now. It's all about heart and courage in there. Brodie looks so determined. I mean, the defeat against Turin, he was bitterly disappointed with, and he looks like he really wants it in there.
Can he survive the pace? Can she keep taking those shots?
Well, the action just keeps swinging one way, then the other. This is one of the best contests I've seen for a long, long time.
Can you pick the winner and the new champion?
At this stage, I really can't. You really can't tell who's going to win. The action is swinging one way, then the other.
Absolutely terrific, Ian. We can't pick them.
No, I don't think anybody could. Not with any confidence. Only a fool would try to call it from here. All you can say is that Brodie's looked good in the last couple of rounds again, and has been outboxing In Jin Chi here, and gets him with a right hand again, a jolting right hand.
Well, Brodie winning the last 2 rounds of Mycott, is that a sign that Chi just starting to weaken and Brodie's strength now starting to tell?
Well, I thought that after the 3rd and 4th, and then Chi had a big fit. 6th and 7th to Brodie on my card. But I've still got the fight dead level because of that knockdown.
Yeah, dead level on my card. Really is a smashing fight, isn't it?
And just to think, some of the newspapers this morning could scarcely give a line to preview this fight. In fact, one of the qualities, I didn't find a single line previewing the fight, which is an absolute nonsense. Good right hand again from Brodie.
For Iranians, something's got to give. You understand now the training, however hard they prepared, which obviously on this view is tremendous. They've prepared, but something's got to give. They can't keep this up all the way through. You wouldn't think.
Chi looks busted up around the face now. His nose is bleeding. He's bearing the scars of the battle. And there's a cool, composed look about Brodie at the moment. But he can't afford to switch off. We've seen little lapses of concentration from him in the past in fights. Tonight, he must keep up the intensity. At the moment, there's a sense that it might be there for him. Only might.
Only the man who wants to give much today. They're both landing good shots in this round.
The pace has to drop. It has to, because it's been so ferocious so far.
Neither man has really become boss in this round yet.
Come on, mate, see it to him.
Little right hands from Chi. We know the WBC judges do like to go for aggression in the main. Recent Mosley-De La Hoya fight, possible case in point.
Well, Brodie's never been short of that. He's tried to keep on the front foot. There's been lots of this.
Chi slashing punches but missing with a lot of it. He looks a bit wild at times. He hasn't got the control of Brodie. Cleaner shots from Brodie. Better punch kicking. Good performance, inspired performance from Michael Brodie. Well, what must he be going through? Jack Trickett there with the glasses in his 70s now. He's never had a world champion. He's guided Michael Brodie all the way. What a night it would be for him if Michael was to do it.
Fabulous. I spoke to him this afternoon at the hotel and he was very, very nervous, and I'm sure he still is now.
Over 100 body shots now for Brodie. Chi under 30, but it's not only body shots, of course, that count. Here we go, we're in the 9th round. Due to go 12, of course, for the WBC featherweight title vacated by Eric Morales.
Yeah, and I've got Brodie for the first time in this fight in the lead, 76-75.
Me too. Good left hand from Chi, trained by Jin Kim, who had one of the great Korean fighters, the light flyweight Myung Wo Ye. By the way, certainly at least one member of the Korean football team who got to the World Cup semi-finals here tonight, supporting Chi here in Manchester. Here comes In Jin Chi again. He's been back to the well, and he's got something in the bucket by the look of it too.
Brodie finds the cleaner shots, and he's got the better boxing as a solid left hand goes in from Chi.
Fascinating times in this division with Derek Gainer and Juan Manuel Marquez, two rival world champions, due to meet in Grand Rapids, Michigan soon. Marco Antonio Barrera against Manny Pacquiao in a big one on November the 15th as well. Plus Scott Harrison v Manuel Medina rematch late November. It's all happening in the 9-stand division.
Good right hand from Chi. He's really busying himself in this round.
Not so much from Brodie. Gets him with a right hand, Chi. Brodie looks a little disorganised, his eyes beginning to pop up a shade too.
Look, a little hurt from the shot there. One went the body and the head.
Just a little flat patch from Brodie in this round. Just when you think he's getting things under control, back comes Chi again and he blows and blows hard. Brodie, those eyes are starting to close a bit, you know, Glenn.
Yeah, he lands with a big right hand, Brodie, then a left.
It's a monumental effort from both of these two. They are giving you pure, undiluted sporting theatre here.
This is Chi's round. He's done the better work here.
Well, back comes the Korean again. Who's going to have the most strength in the finishing string? That was a bad round for Brodie.
Need a big effort, Michael. Come on now.
This doesn't look good. Michael Brodie's left eye is closing. He's puffed up. They're trying to G him up. He just had a bad round there.
he had a bad round, a demoralizing round, and they know that in the corner. They're trying to wake him up, to get him teed up and get him out there, but his face is all bust up, and that doesn't help.
And there are still 9 minutes left in the fight. You really hope for Michael Brodie's sake on this night of nights that those eyes hold up for him. He can't fight with only one eye, or worse than that, none if they're both shut. The left is worst. Has to box. Chi, you sense, is always just gathering himself for the next blitz.
Well, he's a real throwback, isn't he, Chi? A real fighting man. There's not a lot of finesse there, but solid and strong and never stops.
With a right hand, catches Brodie as he tries to circle away out of trouble.
You just get the feeling at this point in the fight that Brodie's the one who's just struggling the more.
Yeah, he looks a bit laboured at the moment. 2 rounds ago, he looked in control of it, but Chi looks worryingly strong as far as British hopes are concerned.
But Ian, you must remember, Brodie's looked tired and in a bad way in a couple of fights, and he's managed to come through and managed to find the win. So we know he can do it.
Just hope from his point of view he hasn't given it everything and is just starting to build a little down the stretch. But all these punches must have taken something out of Chi too. How much has he got left? He's not Superman, is he? Great jab from Brodie. He's trying to give it a bit more lateral movement. I think that might have played him more, but I don't know, they've just been dragged into this toe-to-toe match most of the way.
Brodie's got to try and pick his shots and find some good counters and just keep out of trouble for the time being. Try and give himself a little breather.
I wonder if we're headed here for a tight, controversial one on the cards. Caught him by the temple, that right hand. Swarming aggression again from In Jin Chi. Sustained ferocity.
Brodie looks like he's got through a bad patch. He's trying to throw the shots again.
Chi works him over the head and body. But I'm tired watching this, Ben.
Well, it really has been fantastic work from both fighters, and how much they've gone through to get in this kind of shape.
It's amazing stuff, but I think Chi's extra aggression will have probably won him that session. Some of the crowd are on their feet.
Come on, mate, you need these last 2 rounds. Right? Come on, mate, son, you've got to get it together for these 2 rounds. Come on, you need these.
Glenn, what's it like this late in a hard contest like this? Are you really hearing any of this now?
You hear a little bit. You don't catch a great deal. What you need to hear is some words of encouragement that really grip you and really get you motivated. But that's hard. You're so tired. This is where the doubts start coming in your head. This is where it gets so tough. Fights are won and lost at times like this.
Also in that corner with In Jin Chi, Joe Koizumi, one of the great boxing figures of the world. He's a journalist. He also does many other jobs in the trade.
Come on, Brodie. Let's go. Come on.
You need these last 2 rounds, they told Brodie. I think they're right. I've got Chi back in front by a point now.
Yeah, my card reads the same as yours, Ian.
It's been a dramatic one. Can Brodie do it? Can he crown his career?
95-94 on my scorecard. Last 2 rounds I've given to Chi, so maybe this time in the fight now Brodie's starting to struggle. It has just gone one way then the other.
Brodie has to impose himself. Has to take the eye of the judges. Here's Chi again. Once again, Brodie ends the fight looking marked up, like the victim of a recent accident. clash of heads. Two of them touch gloves. They have a lot of respect for each other. What a spectacle they put on here. What a heartbreaker it would be for Michael Brodie if he was to lose narrowly on points as he did against Willie Horring, when most of us at ringside felt he was wrong for the WBC Super Bantam crown. That's one weight down from this, by the way, at 8 stone 10.
Well, having watched Michael Brodie all the way through his career and seen him in the good fights and, you know, some not so good, but he's always managed to prevail, and then the Horring saga, you really are feeling for him and willing him to get through this, aren't you?
Is Chi stealing this away from him down the stretch, though? It's starting to look a bit like that.
Just a little bit busier in this round again. Chi Brodie needs to pick it up, really needs to fight. His whole boxing career is on the line. This is the big one.
Right hand, Brodie not doing enough. Chi keeps throwing the lever, keeps stacking up the points. This is another round for him. And at the moment it doesn't look good for Brodie, because he's the one who looks like he has a bit less left.
The referee looks into Brodie's face at the damage around those eyes.
That's terrific. Body punches and head punches from Brodie, but he'll need more of that, much more.
Two little uppercuts from Chi, lift the head up.
Chi looks stronger now. This has cost both of these fighters so much in terms of energy. Who had the most left? Well, the answer at the moment is In Jin Chi of Korea, the man who gave Eric Morales hell.
Well, he's just doing more, that's all that there is. Brodie's got to start throwing punches. This round slipped away for him.
Good right at the end there by Chi after a left from Brodie, but that's Chi's round, I think, on the aggression. And I've got it 2 points split, but only one to go.
You got to play your eye out. Mike, you've got to win this round. Get busy. You've got to win this round.
Well, come on, boy. Brodie has landed 303 to Chi's 237, says the computer, and that's a big difference.
Yeah, it is a big difference, but it's in what rounds. It goes on the rounds you win. Brodie could have thrown more in one round, couldn't he?
12 rounds scheduled, Brodie 14 times and Chi only twice. How many times have they completed it? Brodie 6 times, including his last 3 fights, by the way, and Chi on 2 occasions. But there are 12-round fights and 12-round fights, and this one really would empty the gas tank.
Well, that's how I've got it. 2 points behind Michael Brodie going in the last round. We get a standing ovation from the crowd who loved this fight.
A lot of these rounds would have been close as well and open to different interpretations. Judges might have something a little bit different. Brodie, the home city fighter.
And if it stays like this, you're not going to argue a great deal either way. Very, very close.
He needs this round though, Brodie, and I think he needs it big. Because he hasn't won one for a while. Not since the 8th on my card.
Yep, you could do with a big, big round here, Michael Brodie.
Well, they've both been sent out by their corners and told to throw the kitchen sink at each other. The eye's holding up for Brodie. He's going to get through the fight, but is he going to have a belt at the end of it? Or is he one of those fighters for whom it's just not destined to quite happen at the highest level? Well, this is a good left hook there, though.
He does. If anybody deserves the world title, it is Michael Brodie. He's done everything that's ever been asked of him.
But of course, sentiment doesn't come into it. Only the cruel reality of those judges' cards. In Jin Chi's left eye is closing. He looks tired now, but he keeps on throwing leather. And even when they're not landing those punches, they do have some effect on the judges. There's a good left hand on Brodie, who's a bit low to the body. He's got to keep on firing. He's got to keep on firing.
Well, again, he's just been outworked a little bit in this one as well. It's In Jin Chi who's doing more.
That's into the right hand there. He's missing as well. They're wild, scything kind of shots, nothing scientific, but the illusion is of him doing most of the work. This is good from Brodie, but is it all too late? She will not be dominated.
Well, he's trying to box, he's trying to get in the back foot. He's just got to throw the punches out. She is the busier of the two.
I'm sure he bowed at Brodie for a moment there. Rock by the right hand, it seemed. Anyway, she looks very, very tired now. They both do, and no wonder. It's been a memorable fight. You won't see many better than this. For the WBC's featherweight crown, but has Chi's strong finish nicked this away from Michael Brodie, who looked at one stage to be taking control of it. There goes the final count. Everybody in the MEN Arena in Manchester is on their feet. You can only take your hat off to both fighters. That was some spectacle. But who's got it?
Well, it was a fantastic fight. They lifted Morris Gore, who trains Brodie, lifting him in the air, hoping that he's done enough in an epic at featherweight. It really was a terrific fight. They both wanted it so bad, and they just let their hearts on their sleeve and fought for everything they had.
Now he has to wait and wonder. Doctor has a look at him with that left eye nearly closed. British fighters who've held world featherweight championships with distinction. Jim Briscoe, Howard Winston, Barry McGuigan had the WBA title, our own Barry. In more recent years, Colin McMillan, Paul Hodgkinson who had this title. And there we see that she threw more punches but landed substantially less, according to the computer, that Brodie was the more economic of the two.
Well, it really is a shame to have a loser in a fight like this. You can see the fight etched on the face of Michael Brodie and those bumps, but I've got it 3 points ahead to Chi in what was really a cracking fight.
I had Chi winning it down the stretch as well. He did have that knockdown round as well, the 10-8 round we think in the second, although Brodie came back so well in the round that I suppose there was an argument for saying 10-9. You would weep for him, absolutely weep for him after what happened against Willie Horry in a terrible decision by the judges. He won that fight and didn't get given it.
Yeah.
Tonight, well, we don't think he's won, do we? Not really.
We don't, but it was
we might
close.
be wrong.
We might be wrong. I wouldn't put a big argument either way. It was a terrific fight. It really is down to these three men.
Hubert Min, Nobaki Uratani of Japan, Francisco Vasquez of Spain. They hold Michael Brodie's fate in their hands. There's a hushed crowd and attention now around the arena. Everybody breathless from a fantastic fight. I think no matter what happened, Michael Brodie showed tonight that he belongs in top world class.
Oh, most definitely. I know he believes that. You know, he wants to fight Barrera, thinks he can beat him. He does belong there.
Here we go. We're going to get the decision now. Here's John McDonald.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 incredible rounds of boxing, please show your appreciation for one of the finest bouts of boxing you will ever see.
And we're still waiting for the decision. I'm just getting some word now.
Looks like there's problems with the scorecard. They're looking and rechecking them.
There's been some problem with the collation of the scorecards, and they're having to re-collate them. Now, does that mean that it's very, very close? What agony this is for the fighters.
For the fighters, oh my word, they give everything.
But it's
and they
important.
Still don't know.
But it is important that they get this right. We've had one or two foul-ups high-profile ones in recent years where the decisions had to be changed when the boxers have got back to the dressing rooms. You don't want that.
No, you don't want that. They've got to get it right. And there is.
Well, you're getting a look there at how the judges have got it. We're not supposed to do that, are we?
I don't think so. We've done well to get the camera in there.
I couldn't add it up in time, sorry. I thought Brodie was ahead in the fight, and then he had that bad round, the 9th, when he ended up all swollen and his face looking busted up and his eye nearly closed. And Chi just seemed to outwork him. That was the impression we had in the last few rounds. This is an inordinately long delay, but it is adding to the drama, if I'm honest with you.
No, you'd think the maths would be not that hard, would you? You've got enough heads around there to count them up.
Looks like one of them's got it level there at 113 of 113. One's got it at 114, 112 to Chi. You can see that. This could be a broadcasting first.
Well, and now they seem to be writing those ones in.
Couldn't see what the third one was, and it would be pretty decisive. But it's close on those cards, and it looks like one of them's got it even, which opens the possibility that we might even get a draw. And I think that would be a result for Brodie, really, after everything's happened. I tell you what, if he does get a favour from the judges, after what happened 3 years ago with Willie Horan, he'll have deserved it.
He certainly will. There'll certainly be no big complaints, will there? He did box fantastic. Great fight.
In Jin Chi and the people in Korea wouldn't agree with that, though.
Well, that's 131 left to Chi.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look so great, does it? Well, if that's right, that little sneak preview suggests that maybe In Jin Chi.
Yeah, 131 left on 2 cards. Whether that's right or not.
Right, we don't know if that's right. They're rechecking everything.
Yeah.
I mean, how difficult can it be to add up the scorecards? It isn't rocket science, is it?
Well, it's not. I mean, I don't know if they're wanting them to change in front of their eyes, but it adds to the same figure every time.
This is World Championship Boxing in 2003.
It's important to get it right.
There seems to be some kind of discrepancy about whether Brodie might have been deducted a point in the first round after that head clash. It looked an accidental one.
Yeah, I thought it was an accidental one, and certainly there was no reason to get a point deducted, and nothing was really pointed out.
Well, the referee wasn't doing his job, was he? Because he should make a clear indication to the judges that he's deducted a point.
Unless the judges took it upon himself to deduct a point.
In which case, are they going to add a point? Oh, there's Jose Suleiman, the president of the World Boxing Council, Robert Smith of the British Boxing Board of Control, Barry Hearn, the promoter here. And now they're having a committee to decide it, which doesn't reflect well on the WBC, does it?
It doesn't look good, does it? You know, if there's this sort of controversy over just adding up, surely they can add up.
And I wonder if this is going to go on after the decision's announced.
It's 112, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Well, let me tell you something here. I'm getting word that they have taken a point away from Michael Brodie for the first round clash of heads, which was not indicated by the referee. So what's going on there then?
Well, no idea. It's the referee who's there to take the point off, not the judges.
It looked accidental at the time.
Of course it did. They just rushed in. There was nothing that looked intentional whatsoever.
And he can only wait and wonder. It doesn't look good for him from everything we're seeing and hearing. I don't think he'll be privy to much of this. I think we're ready at long last with the decision. Back to John MacDonald.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the judges' scorecard reads: Vasquez scores this contest 113-130. Uratani scores a contest 112-114, and Min scores a contest 112-113. By majority decision, your winner and the new WBC featherweight champion of the world from Seoul, Korea, In Jin Chi.
She has got it by very narrow margins, and everybody in Manchester, including Michael Brodie, is crestfallen. But like the magnificent sportsman he is, he walks across and he hugs In Jin Chi, and that's how close it was. And we can only presume that's with a point taken off Brodie for the head clash, which would have made the first card 113-113, would have given Brodie a victory on Francisco Vasquez's card, 114-113 winner, and he'd have still lost on the other one. So it would have been a draw, but for that.
Well, yeah, that's maybe second guessing a little bit. I'm not really sure if that is what's happening. We just had rumours that thing is In Jin Chi has won. We thought he'd won. Michael Brodie, good sport, was the first person to applaud and then give him congratulations, and that was great after the performance that he put up. Just such a shame that he hasn't got it.
But it's another controversy, that, isn't it?
Again, yeah, unless I hadn't seen the cards myself, Ian, so
we're only getting second-hand information, but it seems quite reliable that Brodie did have a point deducted for the clash of heads in the first round. The point is, the bottom line is, he's been foiled again in heartbreaking fashion. Congratulations to In Jin Chi, who fought his heart out. Glenn and I did think he'd won. Right, let's go to promoter Barry Hearn and Brodie's manager Jack Trickett, waiting to talk with Adam Smith.
Well, Barry, firstly, an amazing fight and a memorable special occasion. What about the confusion at the end? Your take on that? Was Michael deducted a point in the first round?
Well, apparently, it's the first I've heard of it. Apparently, he was deducted a point for illegal use of the head in the first round. But there was no way that was announced. The normal rule is you take the fighter and you take 1 point and you show to the four corners so that the judges are aware of it. No one's aware of it. The first I heard of it was when they was adding the scores up at the end, and I cannot see how you take away a point for what was clearly an accidental clash of heads.
Will you be complaining and ordering a rematch?
Absolutely, totally. There's no question about that. I mean, we're very proud to be promoting WBC title fights, obviously the most prestigious belt in the world, and we expect justice. It was a great fight. We're very proud to have been involved in it. I think it's the type of fight that we want to show you guys, but we got to be treated fairly, and that was not being treated fairly.
Well, let's bring Jose Suleiman straight in, the president of the WBC. What went on at the end there with the scorecards?
Well, the WBC had its scorecard, and before we turned it in, the local boxing commissioner wanted to check because his scoring was different than ours. So we demanded a deep scoring and checking by the commission, and we came out exactly with the result that was given at the end.
The referee didn't appear to take a point off, though, in the first round.